Well, welcome everyone to our next Alumni Rebound podcast. We have our next guest. I'll pass it off to you. Introduce yourself. Let us know sort of when you graduated, major, where you are now, where you're working, living, going to school, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I'll say, thank you so much, Tim, for having me here. Again, my name is Tran. I graduated back in May. I guess you can say with quotation marks, just because, didn't really feel like a graduation, but, again, it really propelled me to be the person I am today. So I can't discredit that. But again, I'm Tran, I'm 23. I live right outside of DC. So many people refer to it as the NOVA, Northern Virginia area. And so right now, I'm actually working at Adobe in sales and marketing. And so it's been truly amazing. I actually made the transition from Oracle a few months ago over to Adobe. So it's kind of been crazy, navigating the corporate space, being 23, being a young adult, still living at home, but still navigating has been truly interesting. And I'm excited to unpack all of that today.
Great. So let's dig into where in Nova, just because, there are a lot of people from there. We want to be specific for them.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm in Fairfax.
Okay. Just because I'm originally from that area, let's keep digging into Fairfax. Fairfax.
Yeah, so I'm right down the street from Fairfax High School. I went to Falls Church High School, but I moved a few times. But now I'm kind of located right outside of Fairfax High School now.
Very cool. I moved here from Falls Church.
Oh,
so
okay.
Actually in Falls Church City before I moved here.
So. Oh, such a beautiful area. I love Falls Church.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So then let's dig into the two jobs. You've already had two jobs.
I know.
Let's spend some time there. How did the first job happen? When did you get it? Did you have it before you graduated?
Yeah.
And when did you decide to make the shift, and why did you make the shift?
Yeah, so I'll backtrack. Starting senior year, everybody's kind of like, hunting down their job, getting down the offers because their friends are getting offers. So, for me, I felt that pressure a lot too. And I think a lot of people maybe listening in like the same age as I am, or even, job hunting, you feel that pressure like, oh, everybody else has a job, or they're getting their job, or they're getting offers. So I better get on it. And so once that pressure started, to come in senior year, the start of senior year, I was under the College of Business. So I saw a lot of my friends in Choker, everybody getting their job offers. And so I started to quickly apply and interview the start of my senior year. And so that being said, I did have a job offer by the time I graduated. So I was very blessed in the sense of having a job in the midst of the start of the pandemic back in March. And so I did have that job security, and I was very blessed and thankful. But I still saw the pressure and still knew what it was like to kind of like stress out about getting that job under my belt. But, back to your question of like how and why I've now have like two jobs since graduating. So I started my job at Oracle, and I did enjoy it for the time being, and it taught me a lot. However, I knew that long term, I didn't see myself at the company, and I saw myself, kind of more embedded at another company with a different mission statement, different values. And not to say that Oracle didn't have the values and mission that I wanted. I just felt that Adobe was more distinct in what I was looking for in the marketing space, and was more innovative on that front. Whereas Oracle was a little bit more focused within, that accounting software niche. So I quickly had the olive branch, and I took it, and, definitely was scary. But when you're scared, and change is scary, but that's when you're propelled to the most growth and most, fulfillment of life. Is the question I would ask myself is, what do I want to be uncomfortable staying in, settling, or do I want to be uncomfortable with new change and that fulfillment? So what's that uncomfortability looking like, and which one's more? I gravitated toward the being uncomfortable with the new change, because I knew ultimately it was the step in the right direction.
So talk a little bit about, I have two questions. So we'll start with, talk a little bit about leaving the job. How did that go? Was that, was that hard? How did they take it? Because how long had you been there when you left?
Less than a year.
Okay. Yeah. So how did that go? And like, how was that received by them when you said you were leaving? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be transparent. Like leaving under a year definitely wasn't like the best like that I wanted to do. Obviously, I want to show like my commitment to the company, and I was committed. And I think my work ethic spoke on its own. However, I think being a young 20 something, or at the time I was only 22. So, I mean, granted, I still believe I'm young, I'm 23, but like, um, I think they understand. They know that like you are a young professional trying to navigate your career in the midst of a pandemic. And, you know, I think just explaining myself and being super transparent from the start of, hey, look, like, I don't know if my heart is fully embedded here, but I am ready to tackle every single day. I'm still ready to show up for work every time I'm here. However, I do want to express some of my concerns. I've like in XYZ areas. And so, I work in sales. And so it was definitely taxing
Yeah.
at Oracle, and it was tough. And I think that was the main part that kind of like made me, second guess myself here. And if that's, something I want to do long term. And I think that's
Right.
completely normal. And it's completely normal to second guess yourself and wonder if that's your full-time gig, your full-time thing, because again, your first job might not be your dream job, and that's okay. And so I think to answer your question, being super professional in the sense of, being transparent, being authentic to yourself, and, just being vulnerable. Like people love vulnerability. So I came to my manager and I was like, look, I might potentially be putting my 2 weeks in here, but I've appreciate your mentorship and you've helped me so much. And I think that transparency and that vulnerability and admitting to, look, like, I'm so sorry, but I have to navigate my career and I'm very young. And I think this is the time to do it. She really appreciated my authenticity and, my truth. And so I think she took it well. And she also understood that, you're still young, you're navigating your career. It's just the start.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I think that sort of leads to my second question is, there are so many people that I feel like are after money and are chasing titles and things like that. But one of the things you said earlier about moving was about mission and how you aligned with it. And I really want to see what you can do, Tran, to help us sort of set that message for our students that are about to graduate, that believing in what you're doing and believing where you're doing it and
Mhm.
believing in a place in the mission and
Mhm.
all that is so important. Can you talk about that sort of choice? Because again, you were leaving the
Yes.
place in less than a year.
Yeah.
You're leaving because you felt like you were more in alignment with something else, but that's also a risk because you don't know if you'll actually align more. You just think you
Exactly.
will. But
Exactly.
I can think of all the people I've worked with in my life that have left a job for a better paying job and then have called back a month later saying I made a mistake. So
Exactly.
you talk about that alignment with mission and why that's important
Wow.
and how you found that out.
I love that question. I think it starts with coming from a lot of struggle. I'm Asian American, I'm gay, Asian American. So I have two lenses of being, the minority in society. I also was a first generation college student, so I didn't come from much money at all. I paid for college myself, and I'm still in a chunk of debt. However, um, I quickly realized at an early age that yes, money is very important. Money, buys us nice things. Money keeps a roof over our head and food on the table, right? However, I quickly also realized the fulfillment of life. It's so much more than just money and so much more than that. It's priceless and stuff that money can't buy, stuff that's so arbitrary. And like, I don't know, like your cup of coffee in the morning, sitting with a friend, sitting still with your life and getting really real with yourself. And I know many people might think that that's super sappy, but I've quickly realized a lot of 20 something year olds like me don't really realize, the whole embodiment and the holistic view of life before it's too late. And they look back, in their 40s and their 50s, and they're like, oh my gosh, I was just existing and I was never living. And so with the career change, it didn't necessarily come easy now. However, I knew that I was going to be most fulfilled making the change than just settling and staying. And the money aspect, working in sales, you could make a lot of money. And working in sales, there is a lot of opportunity of growth financially as well as professionally as well. And so I knew that like, yes, although money is important and everything, it's not the end game for me. And anybody listening in, I would say you have to really prioritize what's important to you and what makes you happiest. Because, for me, I'll be honest, like I saw Oracle and I was like, yes, I'm going to jump at Oracle. I saw that and I saw the number, I saw how much I was going to be paid. Obviously, I took the jump, right? I took Oracle. I immediately from the get-go because I wanted that to be on my resume. But as you can see, and as through my lived experience, like I quickly realized how unfulfilled I felt and how, you know, like not working 40 hours of your week, you have to be really realistic with yourself and see like, is this going to make me happy for the long term? Because you're going to be doing that for X amount of years, right? Unless like maybe something happens, you're a millionaire overnight, like, hey, good for you. But
Right.
you know, the average Joe or like the average person graduating from JMU, you know, not to say that you're average, but the thing is like you want to be obsessed with your life. You don't want to live a mundane clocking in and out life. So what is that going to take, right? Is that a paycheck? Or is it the true mission and value of a company and how they're going to treat you, how they're going to talk to you, and not just treat you like a number? So really sit still with those values and what you want from a career, especially when it takes up 40 hours of your week. Be obsessed with your life. You know, work is still going to be work, but the very least you owe yourself a career that you truly appreciate and see yourself in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just, I take notes because I'm always looking for what the theme of the conversation is, and
Yeah,
you have to be obsessed with your life. Might just be
yeah,
might just be the
exactly.
theme of this one.
Yeah,
Um, so let's go into some logistical questions here. So you're in Fairfax.
yep,
Do you have roommates? Are you by yourself? Or like talk through sort of how you found housing,
yeah.
how you're living, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, luckily for me, I'm still actually living. Well, I guess, you know, there's pros and cons to living at home, but I guess I just opened a can of worms. I live at home. I'm still with my parents. And, you know, for me, I'm thinking logistically, right? So, in the sense of like setting myself up for financial success,
Mm.
living in the Northern Virginia area, it can be expensive. Now, I do know friends that live on their own and they have roommates, and that's great for them. And that works for them. However, what works for me is at the moment I live at home, I save, I invest my money, and I'm very careful with how I'm spending my money. And I help my parents where I can with finances. So it's not like I don't believe I'm living for free here. Although I do have my parents' support, and I'm very blessed and lucky that my parents aren't rushing me to leave. I have taken this time to really set myself up for financial success. So I live at home, I invest my money, I save my money, and I'm paying off my student debt. So that's my kind of like feedback for people, because I feel like so many people like my age would be like, no, I need to move out as fast as I can. And I need to show that I've like matured and I'm in this next chapter of my life. But the thing is, like, you have to also remember, like, don't do what's trendy, do what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So then let's stick with the money part. That's
Yeah.
always the topic here is how are you sort of managing money with savings, retirement,
Hmm.
investing, bills, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you have less bills since you're at home, but
Right.
how do you budget out your money each month, each year, however?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very blessed that I like don't have too many expenses just because I do live at home. But with many with like my student debt and then my car, I am paying off a car and I'm paying off my student loans. I I have to budget a lot of my money for those different areas. And so when I get my paycheck, I immediately pay into my car that month, and then my student loans that month. And then with investments, right? Like there's many different YouTube videos online about investing in different strategies of investment. And so I think that's also a missed area of opportunity for a lot of people my age, where you think you have a lot of time to invest your money, but you are in your 20s now. Like this is time where you need to learn, what and how to set yourself up for financial success and liberation. And so investing is the best way to do it. So there are different apps like Robinhood, where it's super user friendly, where a lot of like Gen Z millennial people, I feel like, are using it, and beyond as well, are using it to invest and build a stock portfolio.
Right.
And then I also, obviously, like now that I work at Adobe, I invest my money in my 401k and I match it as high as I can where my employer match meets me. And so that's another area of opportunity. And looking into Roth IRAs too, where basically I'm still familiarizing myself. So all of this might sound like gibberish, but it's taken me years to learn as well. So just take the first step in reading a few articles, YouTubing some videos, and it definitely is a great first step for sure.
And not to be an endorsement here, but are there any particular videos that you like the most, or people that you've really aligned yourself with and feel like gave you a lot of good advice on YouTube?
Yeah, somebody who can help you give a huge, like a good holistic view is Graham Stevens. Talks a lot about real estate. The second person is financial educator. He talks a lot about like I don't want to say safe, but like pretty good long-term longevity investments. So if you look the two of those people up, I think they are great people overall to get your feet wet in the financial game.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
And I realize there's one other area of sort of the living at home I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Um, how did you all talk about that? Like, was this known for a while that you were going to move home? And then how do you
Yeah.
manage the living at home versus I was in college and had freedom? Like, are you living in the basement? So you're separate from the
Yeah.
entrance? Like, how did that work out? And how have you sort of set those rules and expectations?
Yeah, another great question. So I think with expectations with my parents, I have a very open relationship with my parents and we're very, very close, but it hasn't always been that way. It's taken a lot of a lot of fight bickers. My mom will probably say a lot more than I am. Like my mom will, if she was here, she would literally be like, Tran's a handful. I get it. But that said, I think having open communication with my parents has really helped keep the balance in the house and like allow us to live together and not just coexist because they're your parents. Like I won't ever have this time back in my life where my parents are this young, where I'm this young, and we can share this moment in our life. So I'm learning to appreciate it. However, a caveat to that is it is tough. I lived on my own for 4 years, and now coming back, it's like I have to tell them where I'm going, or if I'm going out, I'm like, hey mom, I'm gonna get some drinks. And like, it kind of feels silly, but I don't know. I try to laugh it off. I try to be like, look, Tran, like express gratitude. You're saving your money. You're setting yourself up for financial success. And on top of all that, my dad cooks me dinner and I'm very spoiled. This sounds very like I'm very spoiled. I promise I help here and there as well. Like last night I took my parents out for dinner. And I help in other areas, but it's been great. Overall, it's been awesome. And I'm very blessed to have such supportive parents because I know some parents who are like, hey, you got to move out, you got to move out. But my parents are like, honestly, I think the Asian culture too, they're kind of like, stick around as long as you can. And I'm like, mom, don't worry. Don't you worry. I won't be. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, I do think that you're right. Culturally, intergenerational homes is a little different in different cultures. So,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Mhm.
So are you in your childhood bedroom, or do you have a new space in the house, or how did that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, I'm actually in the basement. So I have like the full basement here myself. So it's been really nice to kind of camp out down here while like my family's upstairs and my brothers are still in school. So yeah, there I go. Here's another can of worms. My brothers are actually, some of them are still home too. So there's a middle schooler and there's a high schooler. So they're upstairs in school. So during the day, we're all like doing our work, minding our business. But in the evening, it's fun because then we'll do little things like we'll hang out, watch a movie together,
Yeah,
the little things.
yeah. No, but I do. So are you living in the basement pretty much, or is
Yes.
that
Mhm.
okay? And
Mhm.
is that where you lived before you went to JMU?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I do think, as I've talked to a lot of students, that does seem to be an important thing, is to have your own space if you're going to move
Yeah.
back home. I think has been a really important sort of theme I've heard from a lot of people.
Yeah. Most definitely a great compromise.
Yeah. All right. So a couple other areas. So one, are there any sort of lessons learned, or gosh, I wish I had known that before I made that mistake or that choice or whatever since graduation,
Yeah.
either work related, like however you want to hear that, any regrets, lessons learned, anything like that?
Yeah. I think a lot has, really unfolded in the world since graduating back in, March. I think a lot of social injustice, a lot of, with COVID and everything in between. But, the thing I've learned since then is like the true fulfillment of life when you just take intentional action every day. And I think I talk a lot about that a lot. Like I actually have my own podcast of my own where I talk about that. And I started it back in November and it's been doing really well. I have close to 6,000 listens so far in a few months. Yeah. So I've been doing really well. I think people who know me know me personally in my personal space, they would know me kind of for my social media, like small fitness brand that I've established. It's a small little niche of like close to 5,000 followers so far. I basically post fitness content and that has helped me really stay grounded in who I am, basically doing other things outside of my 9 to 5 that helps me stay rooted in who I am and my why, and why I show up every day has allowed me to feel like, okay, like life isn't so mundane, because I think the transition from college to now post grad can be hard, where people are like, oh, like I miss my friends, I miss my day to day, I miss class, I miss that, because now you have responsibilities in a different light. But you got to embrace the different chapters of your life. And what's helped me, embrace it all is to still balance life outside of it. So whether it be my podcast, my fitness brand, and all those things that I balance outside of work, it's helped me stay rooted in my why and excited every single day.
Got it. So are you okay if we feature the podcast in the sort of title slide of the?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, please do. I'd be honored. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? What's the name? What's it called?
Yeah, it's called Girls and the Gays. And so how the name started was, I have little group chats with my friends, and oftentimes they're my girlfriends, and my girlfriends is like my girlfriends. So I am gay, but like basically we'll be in group chat. We're like, okay, what do we name it? But it's always like Girls and the Gays. Like we always end up naming the group chat Girls and the Gays, whether it be a Snapchat group, an Instagram group, text. And it's just kind of like, a niche that I'm going after, where it's like conversation that we need to have, like being intentional with the life that you choose to live, how you can navigate the corporate space, and a little dash of dating here and there. But it's like targeting young 20-year-olds, like, and us navigating our life.
Got it. So I just found it on SoundCloud. Is that where most people get it from, or?
Yeah, most people will listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So I'm surprised it's on SoundCloud. It's the first I heard. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I found it on that and thedots.com.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
And Spotify. And then, yeah. All right. So if you're good with it, we'll add it to the description of this.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would appreciate it.
You're more popular than us, so I'm not sure we'll drive traffic to you, but we'll try.
No problem at all. It's baby steps, right? Everyone starts somewhere.
Exactly. So my last question, and then we'll see if anything comes up that you want to share beyond that, is what would you say are the biggest differences between JMU life and post JMU life? Things that have been different for you, experiences that have been different. I remember a bunch of people have said they sleep more than they did in college, but so what are some things that for you have been different from JMU to now?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I sleep less. I really do miss JMU. I do really miss, my life there, my social life there, and like the season of life that I was there. Obviously it's different because there's two different seasons of life, and I don't want to disqualify one or say one was better than the other. However, I think the biggest difference is like your shift in responsibilities, right? So like now that you're not going to class, you don't have teachers to report to, grades to have, you're going to work. You have an obligation to work, and your responsibility is there, and you have your manager to report to and a paycheck to earn. However, there's still many beautiful things beyond that. Like now I have opportunities where I can go to happy hour with my friends and talk about work and like where we want to go, where we see ourselves going, how we want to leave our impact in the world and in our community. And it feels much more attainable now that we, are in that bubble of like, we're protected by JMU. We're kind of like, okay, like this is my own brand now. And like, how will I represent myself in my community, and how will I best advocate for myself and use my voice and stand up for myself? And it's really awesome and beautiful to see my friends and I, follow our own footsteps while supporting each other and still keeping what we've learned at JMU, but amplifying it now in our like community beyond JMU. So it's been awesome in that sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else you want to share with folks before we wrap up?
I would always just say, follow your North Star and follow your gut. I know applying for jobs and navigating that space, and comparison is the thief of all joy. So when you get hard on yourself and you get down on yourself, look at how far you've come, and look at the season of life that you're at right now, because it's qualifying you to get you to where you're trying to go. So don't discredit that. Don't discredit the hardship, because you can't have the good if you don't have the bad, and easy robs you of proud, right? So like if something's handed to you, you'll never feel like, oh, I earned that, I worked hard for that. Like my iPhone 12, right? I bought this on my own hard-earned money. I feel so protected over her. I'm like, she is mine, that I earned that, right? I wasn't handed a phone by my mom or my dad. And so it's a different type of fulfillment. So easy robs you of proud, and the comparison comparison is the thief of all joy. So follow your intuition, follow your North Star, and don't forget how far you've already come.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're also the second conversation in a row that has shared comparison is the thief of all joy.
That's awesome. I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme. And
Yeah.
I've never heard the easy robs you of proud. That's a new one for me. I like that.
Thank you. I'm
You
so
might have to
glad.
have two themes for this one.
There we go, right?
Yeah.
A few themes coming out, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Tran. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being a proud JMU alum. We hope we'll see you back on campus sometime soon.
Yeah.
And wish you luck in your endeavors. And again, hope to see you on campus.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Tim, for the opportunity. It's been great.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.